Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love, here bringing another episode of Sports Overview Topics, episode number 32. I hope everyone's being safe. If you're new, like and subscribe. Click on that bell for all your notifications as far as reviews, predictions, all that is concerned. With that, was a very exciting sports weekend. Saturday and Sunday. Saturday with UFC 257, marking the return of A. Conor McGregor and B. Michael Chandler's debut in the UFC. We'll go over that as well as the outcomes of Sunday's AFC and NFC Championship games between Bills and Chiefs and the Packers and the Buccaneers. Go over all that and a little more. So thank you all. Like I said, like and subscribe. With that, let's get into the news now, shall we? First off, starting in order, on Saturday, we had Conor McGregor return to face Dustin Poirier in a rematch of 6 years ago. That was the main event. And then the co-main event was interesting. Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. Dan Hooker, of course, we last saw him in that great fight for Dustin Poirier over the summer. Really good fight. Both were taken to their limits. Both obviously took layoff from that fight. Hooker, he was ranked number 6. Going into this fight with Michael Chandler, Michael Chandler, if you don't know, he was a 3-time champion at Bellator, arguably the best lightweight we've seen at Bellator. We've seen him face Eddie Alvarez, Benson Henderson, Pitbull, just many faces, noble faces we've seen in the UFC. And we were all curious to see how would he do under the right lights of the UFC. Would he be at the top of this weight class? Well, the answer was pretty self-explanatory getting in this fight. It was a filling out process, start out between Hooker and Chandler. Both because Hooker, you could see right away, was taller guy, both were pretty much in shape, both were jacked, but you can see Hooker wanted to use his range, try to figure out how he would dissect smaller Chandler. Chandler, he was filling himself out as well, but after a lunging right hook that was like a setup, high-low, and then came over the top with a left hook that dropped Hooker, and Chandler followed up with some strikes on the ground, and Michael Chandler, his UFC debut in style, UFC 257. Dan Hooker, he's as tough as they come. It's unfortunate now that he was on his little meteoric rise, and then he follows 2 straight, one to Dustin Poirier, and then now against Michael Chandler. It really sets him back a little bit, but he's still one of the top lightweights in the world. This was just about Michael Chandler, more so cementing his spot now as one of the top lightweights in the 155-pound division. Where does he go? Well, we'll talk about that in a sec with the main event. But more on Chandler, his in his post-fight interview, he called out Conor McGregor, said Dustin Poirier's time is done, and if Khabib decides to come back, he said beat him if you can. So, right off the bat, after explosive debut, Chandler's making short waves by calling out top names at 155-pound division. Also, another face I'd like to see him fight was Tony Ferguson. There were talks of them possibly fighting on the same card as Khabib and Gaethje. We'll see. And another guy, Justin Gaethje, as well. But a lot of matchups, interesting matchups, are in store for Michael Chandler if he indeed decide to go on those routes. And then the main event, Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor. A rematch 6 years in the making. 6 years ago, UFC 178, Conor McGregor, he floored Dustin Poirier within 2 minutes, showed when he was on that rise that when a lot of people didn't really know about him, he floored Dustin Poirier, who was then ranked number 5 out on the featherweight division. Floored him, and then he called out Chad Mendes, called out Jose Aldo, and then of course he fought one more time. I forget who it was, and then obviously he fought Chad Mendes, and then the rest, Jose Aldo, and the rest is history. So back to now, Dustin Poirier. Now, he's fought a lot since and has improved mightily since that fight 6 years ago. He beat so many guys. He moved up in weight like he should have, and he's gotten better and better, winning the interim lightweight title over Max Holloway. Just getting better and better, becoming a more noble name. And like I said, coming off that win over Dan Hooker in that good fight last year, and to now, how when both fall up because Conor, he hasn't fought since last year against Cowboy. Well, this was good filling out process. This was good, sort of back and forth fight. Both landed their strikes, but Poirier, he was able to get the pressure and wasn't really fazed by. He took his licks from Conor, but he didn't crumble. He controlled the pace. He landed his shots. He picked apart Conor's lead leg with those calf kicks. And then notably in the second round, when you could tell Conor's movement was hindered by those calf kicks. And eventually they were crowded up against the fence, and Poirier landed some good shots, and Conor fell, and more strikes were being landed. That's a wrap. Dustin Poirier gets his revenge in the rematch against Conor, and I'm really intrigued to see what the future holds for both. For Poirier, for example, there's a couple directions. He feels that he should be the champion if Khabib doesn't return. I can totally see them doing Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler as the next fight. There's also Poirier versus Charles Oliveira, or you could do Chandler versus Oliveira. I mean, there's also Justin Gaethje, which I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch between those two, Poirier and Gaethje. Or like I said, Gaethje and Oliveira or Gaethje for Chandler. Possibilities are there. As for Conor, he said the inactivity. Excuse me. Excuse me, sorry about that. But Conor, his inactivity hindered him. He hasn't fought since last year against Cowboy. He said that he needs to be more active, and he was asked if he was going to fight again this year, and I think they'll take time away. He'll be with his family for a little while, regroup, and then he'll be back. But yeah, Conor's still one of the top lightweights in the world. He's still a money maker despite this fight. The name value is still there with Conor. Obviously, there'll still be the haters, and which I still don't get right now. But it is what it is, and I'm curious to see how Conor rebounds and how Dan Hooker rebounds. But overall, was quality pay-per-view with two exciting endings, and hats off to both Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler. Then we move from Saturday, to Sunday. Championship weekend of the NFL. We had two championship games, the semifinals towards the Super Bowl. In the AFC side, we had the Buffalo Bills versus Kansas City Chiefs. And on the NFC side, we had the Green Bay Packers versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First, we'll go in order. NFC side happened first in the afternoon. Tom Brady, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers and Lambeau. Man, was it a good show. What more could you say is what I'll say. I mean, Tom Brady, as I know in last episode, what he has brought to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in one short year is nothing short of excellent. I mean, last year they were 7-9, most of the same roster is still there. And this year, coming to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I mean, if you're a Tampa Bay sports fan, you gotta be thrilled from what you've seen. The Tampa Bay Lightning and winning the Stanley Cup. You had the Tampa Bay Devil Rays make the World Series, losing to the Dodgers, but still, Tom Brady and those receivers, those tight ends, the running backs, and that front seven really shown in today's game. Packers, on the other hand, as we've said, Aaron Rodgers, the MVP frontrunner, how would he act? Finally getting an NFC Championship game in Lambeau. He had on his quest for a second Super Bowl. How would he fare? Well, digesting into the game, it was pretty sound to start, pretty tight game to start. The run game was failing early on for Tampa Bay, and Tom Brady and Mike Evans just took them apart early in the going, but the Packers rebounded, tied it up, but eventually it just grew on for Tampa Bay. A nice touchdown run by Leonard Fournette when he did 2 spin moves. And yeah, from that point on, that was 14-10, and it looked like, okay, the Buccaneers were going to run it, or excuse me, not run it, but punt it going into halftime ahead 14-10, but no risk it, no biscuit, and with the limited time left on the clock, Bruce Arians and Tom Brady said, what the heck, we'll take a shot going into halftime. And Tom Brady, Scotty Miller for a long touchdown, which, I mean, if you're a Packers fan, that was just a momentum, just punch to the gut going into halftime. And instead of being only down 14-10, getting the ball back, you're down 21-10. Indeed, do. So the Packers at halftime got the ball, were prepared to go down and cut into the lead, but they fumbled, which set up a short touchdown by the Buccaneers, go up 28-10. And if you're a Packers fan, you were on edge. You were feeling a little worried that, okay, this is starting to break open. This is looking like week 6. Uh-oh. And the Buccaneers looked like they were going to go down and fire back, but threw 3 picks, which allowed Aaron Rodgers and Packers to drive down again and make it a 5-point game late. And then the Buccaneers hit a late field goal to go up ahead by 8, 31-23. And the Packers driving down. Now, the other thing is they were letting them play. The officials didn't really call much penalties. There was, I think, only 4 of the day. And I think all of them were pretty much on the Packers. So they were driving down late, the Buccaneers, and as I said, kick the field goal, go up ahead 31-23. And then the Packers get the ball. They're driving down. They're inside the 10 and left a decision on 4th down. You're thinking, okay, you got 3 timeouts. It's like barely over 2 minutes left. 4 down territory. You need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to tie it. And they kick a field goal. So instead, it's 31-26. I mean, you can understand it because, okay, they have 3 timeouts and a 2-minute warning. So that's, in theory, 4 timeouts. So it's like, okay, they're going to try to get a stop and get the ball back, try to get a game-winning touchdown. Instead, they're leaving it in the hands of Tom Brady for 1 drive again, and on a PI call that some thought was controversial because of A, how the officials were calling the whole game, and B, the ball placement. I didn't see it again, but you can't leave the game in the fate of the officials. That's the problem. And that's the number one question that Matt LaFleur is going to be asked about all week and pretty much all offseason. Why did you not go for it on fourth down inside the 10 with Aaron Rodgers to tie it? And yeah, that's pretty much the whole question. So Tom Brady going to his 10th Super Bowl, the Buccaneers, who hadn't made the playoffs in 13 years and had not been to the Super Bowl in 18 years, are going back to the Super Bowl because of Tom Brady. Yeah, I know that most of the roster from last year is still there, but what he is wrong is leadership and just everything. The way they connected, the continuity, the chemistry is all there. And what more could you say? As far as the Packers go, I mean, look, you had a feeling that, well, first of all, I'll make note, last year, they overachieved. You can say it all you want, but people say they overachieved. They were a wild card team that made the NFC Championship game. This case, Aaron Rodgers had his MVP season, and they deserve to be here, but there's still flaws in that roster. And of course, I mean, Devontae Adams and the receivers did make some plays, but there'll always be talk also of, okay, they drafted Jordan Love and not a receiver or someone to help out that team. And they once again fall short of the Super Bowl. And, I mean, not more can be said. So, you go to the AFC Championship game from the NFC side, and man, what a tale of two cities. What I mean by that is the NFC Championship was a really good game. This game it had the makings to be a great game, but it was anything but. So, Bills going to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. I picked the Bills. I thought momentum-wise and the way they were playing, they were more consistent than the Chiefs as of late. That was not to be. And also the talk would be, how would Mahomes feel, both from the concussion and his toe? He looked anything but hindered. He looked like same old Mahomes. He looked okay. I mean, he did look hobbled sometimes when he was running, but he was still making throws. Yeah, hard to believe that those injuries. I mean, it's crazy. He went out against the Browns and he thought, okay, that was the time. That was the time to finish them. They had their run, but in their top defense, but Mahomes is hurt. Browns are going to come back. No, they stuck through and this game, it started ugly. The Bills were ahead 9-0 after a muff punt by Mecole Hardman that led to a Dawson Knox touchdown. And it was weird because they missed the extra point, and it's like that ultimately hindered them the rest of the way. Because there were many times where it's like, okay, they kicked the field goal, and instead of being down just 8, they were down 9 the rest of the way, and they just could never really get back that steam that they had early in the game. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, not much you can say. They just played amazing. The Bills secondary, I thought, would give it a much better fight than they did. And their defense, I don't know. It just did not play the way I thought. And their offense also did not. The expectation was just mind-boggling when it comes to reality. The Chiefs, we know, scoring the points, and they have a stout defense. Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Tyrann Mathieu, Anthony Hitchens, Damian Wilson, Ward, who came in and out, has played well, Juan Thornhill as well. They have a stout defense. Really, it's been about their defense as of late, which is strange, but it's been working. And their offense does what they do. Can't really explain it, but they do. Now, thing of note as far as the Chiefs go, they'll be without their left tackle, their Pro Bowl left tackle, Eric Fisher. He tore his Achilles against the Bills, so that will be a disappointment in the Chiefs' 30-24 victory over the Bills. But it'll be really interesting because, they lost because Tardif, they had opted out before the season. They signed Kelechi Osemele to replace him. He got hurt. And now Eric Fisher is hurt. So they're going to have to do some maneuvering around on the O-line, whether it's Remmers on the left side, and they put some other guy in. Wiley, he was banged up as well. We'll have to see how everything goes, but, hats off to the Chiefs. Now, I'll say my prediction for next week, but it's going to be a fun game down in Tampa. Chiefs, Tampa Bay. Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. That offensive firepower on both sides. It's going to be fun. Now, this was kind of a quick episode, but one thing of note, also going to shed some light on the MLB. The Red Sox have been making moves, and the Minnesota Twins made a signing as well. Hap, I believe, they signed. But other than that, thank you for joining me today. It was a fun episode, short little episode, but thank you all. I'm Ajoe21love. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next week. Thank you.